The Nadis, channels of energy. Many pranayama practices focus on moving energy throughout the body to create balance, regulate bodily functions, increase strength and stamina, stimulate healing, restore energetic misalignments, guide emotions, and elevate spiritual awareness. There's a common saying in yoga, energy goes where the intention flows, meaning we can move energy through the body by focusing our intention into specific areas. For example, place both hands in front of your navel as if you're holding a ball. Close your eyes and begin to breathe slowly and deeply. With every inhalation, move your hands slightly apart. With every exhalation, bring them closer together without allowing your fingers to touch. Imagine a glowing white ball of energy between your hands. As you inhale, visualize the ball growing bigger and pushing your hands further apart. As you exhale, feel the force of the ball resisting your hands coming together. And as you press your hands towards each other, visualize the ball glowing brighter. Continue with these breaths and hand movements for about 5 minutes while keeping a strong focus and visualization of that energy ball. After 5 minutes of slow, deep breathing and movement, rest with your hands in the starting position. Keep your eyes closed. Slowly pulse your hands towards and away from each other and feel the energetic resistance between your fingers. This is a traditional Qigong exercise that cultivates the Qi, or energy, to be moved and utilized in other practices. If you are still skeptical about the energy practice, you are not alone. When I first came to yoga, I was resistant to all the spiritual hippie stuff that goes along with it. I was only there for the physical aspect of the practice. Even though I loved breathing exercises and had tried breath retention in the past, when teachers started talking about the energy, nadis, or chakras, I would tune out. I wanted to see it and feel it, but I was still too closed-minded to allow myself to feel anything subtle like this energy they talked of. I thought, if you can't cut a body open and see the chakras or nadis, then they weren't really there. Maybe, to some extent, they are made up, but by shutting them out, I wasn't able to use them as the valuable tool they are. I remember sitting in class doing Nadi Shodha Pranayama, alternate nostril breathing, and thinking it was silly to close off one nostril because all the air goes to the same place as soon as it passes the septum. I didn't understand that the air I was inhaling was both breath and energy, or that alternate nostril breathing could be a tool to focus the intention from one side to the other to create more balance between my left side energy, Ida Nadi, and my right side energy, Pingala Nadi. I think it's imperative to be skeptical of most things, but it's hard to grow and have new experiences unless you are open to the things you don't know or don't understand. Yoga is a state of connection. Everything else is just a tool to help us understand that connection. Whether it's asana, pranayama, chakras, or the deity Lord Ganesha, we use the tools that help us when we need them and set aside the ones that aren't useful. I tend to take a scientific approach to most things. Even with the spiritual side of my practice, I had to find some scientific evidence that would bring the ledge close enough for me to take the leap into the metaphysical, spiritual world. Spiritual has many connotations depending on whom you talk to, their background, and how they're using the word. We give all words their meaning, and I think it's okay if our meanings vary a bit, although it can be difficult if you're trying to talk about the same thing but have different definitions for what that thing is. So, to give us some common ground, I will define what spirituality means to me, but please feel free to retain your own connection with this word. For me, spiritual describes intangible elements that are beyond my understanding, yet are still felt, experienced, and possibly even created through the power of the mind. Spirituality became the impetus to move me past my human limitations to a place of expansion where I could experience a deep and profound connection to nature and all things. As we try to understand the true philosophical questions, such as, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? What is on the other side of the void? I think it is our spirituality and our connection to the subtle, energetic, and intuitive self that brings us closer to those answers. And for us to sense or move energy, we need to understand our limitations of perception and develop interoception, internal awareness, and intuition. We have only 5 senses with which to understand the outside world. Our senses are like little windows that limit how much we can see. Since we can't leave our bodies, we are mostly stuck with this view. Technology has given us the tools to expand our little windows, and now with these tools, we can see things that were once too far away or too small, and even things that we didn't know existed. But we still have many walls we can't see through, so we don't know what's on the other side. Science has already given us a much deeper understanding of the energetic body. It often uses different terminology than Eastern philosophies, but I believe it is easy to draw the lines that connect the two. As both science and spirituality grow, the two become closer together. How we talk about energy can be confusing. There is the scientific definition that we use to discuss energies like mechanical, electrical, thermal, and chemical. There is also the spiritual definition that refers to prana or chi. Some call it the universal force of life, pure love, nature, source, or awareness. So how are they different? Everything we know and see in the physical world is formed with energy, and all living things create and use energy. The beats of my heart are electrical energy, my movement, kinetic energy, the warmth of my skin, thermal energy. My most profound feelings of love come from chemicals like serotonin and dopamine. It might help to separate the types of energy to define and understand them, but it's also helpful to recognize that it's all energy, and however you connect to that understanding of energy is perfect. Our breath, vitality, and energetic life force are interdependent and interconnected. Therefore, the breath or prana is not limited to the lungs. As we inhale, we can direct our prana to move anywhere in the body. For example, in a yoga class, the teacher might guide the students to breathe somewhere outside the lungs, like into the belly, the lower back, or even into the legs and arms. We use the breath as a vehicle that is guided by an intention to place our awareness in a specific area. While you can send prana anywhere in the body just by focusing it there with your mind, prana also circulates in a constant state of flow, like water down a river. Prana travels along pathways called nadis, which are channels or conduits, similar to our nervous system. Nadi means nerve in Sanskrit and comes from the root nad, which means flow, motion, or vibration. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika, as well as many other ancient yoga texts, state that there are 72,000 nadis throughout the body. The Shiva Samhita describes 350,000, but 72,000 seems to be the more widely adopted philosophy. Of these nadis, the three that are most vital are the Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. The nadis represent energy channels, but they also represent the archetypes and qualities of the self. We move energy through various channels by using our intention. But instead of focusing on energy moving through the nadis, we focus on a specific quality or multiple qualities that each nadi represents. In the beginning, it's easier to focus on one quality at a time. By bringing our attention to certain energetic attributes or emotional qualities, we cultivate those desired aspects within ourselves. For example, if we lack creativity and want to inspire it, we can focus on our creative aspect flowing up the Ida Nadi along the left side of the body, since the Ida Nadi represents the innovative and imaginative qualities of the self. Because the nadis function as a system of balance, focusing on a quality in the opposing nadi, such as the Pingala nadi if we are concentrating on the Ida nadi, can help bring more emotional stability overall. We can do this practice as a meditation or as an intention accompanying any breathing exercise and focus on the intention during inhaling. We increase the power to cultivate our intention even further when we use a pranayama practice that increases the quality of the nadi. Ida Nadi. The Ida Nadi, sometimes referred to as the passive channel, originates on the left side of the base of the spine at the root chakra, Muladhara chakra, and spirals upward toward the area behind the eyes at the third eye chakra, Anja chakra. Much like the optic nerve crosses and links the left eye to the right hemisphere of the brain, the Ida channel crosses at the third eye and is connected to the right brain. Ida represents the lunar or yin subtle energy that is associated with creativity, passivity, receptivity, and intuition. When we are in our Ida nature, we become more calm and nurturing and tend to be content and relaxed. The Ida Nadi links to the parasympathetic nervous system. When we stimulate the Ida Nadi through pranayama practices, we also stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. Conversely, when we have more parasympathetic tone, we exhibit more Ida qualities. Pingala Nadi. The Pingala Nadi, often referred to as the active channel, originates on the right side of the base of the spine at the root chakra and spirals upward counter to the Ida Nadi, while both intersect and cross along each chakra like a double helix up to the area of the third eye chakra. Mirroring the Ida channel, Pingala Nadi connects to the left hemisphere of the brain. Pingala represents the solar or yang subtle energy that is associated with logic, power, energy, and assertiveness. When we are in our Pingala nature, we become more focused, driven, and outgoing. We tend to be goal-oriented. When we stimulate our Pingala Nadi, we move more into our sympathetic nervous system. As with the Ida Nadi, this relationship works the other way too. Sushumna Nadi. Sushumna runs up the center of the spine, starting near the perineum at the root chakra and ending at the top of the skull at the junction between the parietal bones and the frontal bone at the crown chakra, Shashara chakra, and intersects all the chakras as it travels upwards. Sushumna can be called the central energy channel of enlightenment. It is described as a thin, hollow white tube that is usually closed but opens when the Ida and Pingala are in perfect balance. Sushumna then becomes the expression of harmony of the duality of our nature that allows us to realize our higher selves. When we are in our Sushumna nature, we exhibit wisdom, knowledge, and awareness through a state of bliss and equanimity. If you've studied the Nadis, you probably noticed that I didn't refer to Ida as feminine and Pingala as masculine, as you would see in almost every yogic text out there. Although some say that the masculine and feminine energy are not related to male and female genders, most people associate certain characteristics with a masculine person and certain characteristics with a feminine person. We have very masculine women and men who are very feminine and vice versa. When I look at the qualities and attributes of Ida and Pingala, none of them is unique to a feminine or masculine person, regardless of sex or gender. As our culture breaks away from gender roles and moves towards equality, I feel that associating feminine energy with being nurturing implies that masculine energy is not nurturing. Likewise, relating masculine energy to being strong and powerful suggests that the feminine energy is weak and inferior. These philosophies are outdated and should be rethought to fit our progressive society.